Before midnight countdowns and New Year's kisses, the start of the new year used to arrive with spring. In much of Europe, April 1st marked celebration, rebirth, and a new beginning. But then the church changed the calendar, and not everybody followed. Those who didn't, they were ridiculed, and that ridicule turned into something we still observe centuries later. The year was 1582, and the time itself needed correcting. The Julian calendar, in use since 45 BC, calculated a year as 365.25 days. It added a leap day every 4 years to keep things in line, but it overshot the mark. The actual solar year, the time it takes Earth to complete one orbit around the sun, is about 365.2422 days. That tiny difference of 11 minutes per year meant the calendar gained a full day every 128 years. So, by the 16th century, the spring equinox had drifted about 10 days earlier on the calendar, throwing off Easter and other key dates in the Christian calendar. To fix it, Pope Gregory introduced the Gregorian calendar. It kept the familiar 12-month structure, January through December, but refined the leap year rule. Leap years would still happen every 4 years, except for years divisible by 100, unless they were also divisible by 400. That small change brought the calendar's average year length to 365.2425 days, remarkably close to the solar cycle. To reset the drift, 10 days were dropped from the calendar altogether. In countries that adopted the reform, Thursday, October 4th, 1582, was followed by Friday, October 15th. And to complete the update, January 1st was standardized as New Year's Day. Some countries accepted the changes very quickly. Catholic nations like France, Spain, Italy, they were first. But Protestant countries like England and its colonies resisted the papal decree and did not adopt the Gregorian calendar until 1752. Many rural communities clung to the old Julian dates out of habit, isolation, or protest. And that is where the jokes began. Those still celebrating the old New Year in late March and early April, they became targets of ridicule. In France, pranksters would pin paper fish on their backs, mocking them as gullible April fish, poisson d'avril. These harmless pranks marked them as fools for living in the past. The idea caught on. In Scotland, it became Hunt the Gawk Day, sending victims called gawks or cuckoos on absurd errands. Other countries developed their own customs, all centered around one idea: laughing at people who were out of sync with the times. And over time, that annual mockery, it actually turned into ritual. A calendar reform designed for astronomical precision had birthed a day of mischief. So today, April Fool's Day stretches across continents. Fake headlines, practical jokes, elaborate hoaxes, they'll all trace back to a handful of people who kept celebrating the new year in April. They weren't trying to be funny. They just had not adjusted. But history turned their stubbornness into comedy. A cosmic correction gave us a cultural tradition. These are Interesting Things with JC.